Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Morning.
Hello from Utah. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Happy White Hat Wednesday.
Yeah.
We need to have a different theme song just for White Hat
You just
Wednesday.
created one.
Well, that's my theme song for just about everything that I do when I'm brushing or putting toothpaste on my toothbrush.
Yeah. We laugh. Everything's got a theme
I've
song.
got a theme song.
They all sound pretty similar. But
yeah, and also voices
for
all of the things.
All
Jim
creatures.
teases me all the time because a fly is...
He's got noises and
he's
sounds.
chasing after a fly, and I'm over there going, you missed me.
Makes it all entertaining. Yeah.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
So Wednesday we got some announcements. Just remind everybody, September 24th through 26th, right around the corner for Marietta.
Yeah.
We got LHPH Capital coming up on October 12th through 14th. And I'll say it again, if you haven't looked at leasing, and especially if you're new, you might want to have a look at leasing. Yeah. So San Diego would be a great opportunity to get dipped in leasing in just a short period of time. And we will be there broadcasting live.
Yeah, it'll be a
chatting with all the people.
Yeah. And if you have never been to San Diego,
wow.
San Diego is one of the most temperate. Is that the right word?
I think so. Yeah.
So it maintains a temperature there like year round. That's something pretty. It's very spectacular. Buenos dias, and yes, it's a beautiful day in Utah. So hello, Facebook user.
That's got to be Adrian down in Cedar City.
Maybe it is. Morning. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
No other announcements. Well,
no. Well, I'm going to be blowing up some people by text message today, so we can.
Marietta is coming up.
I said that.
Already said that. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe. So we got some other things we need to get scheduled for the upcoming. The podcast for our guests, and so I'll be reaching out to some people and nailing some of that stuff down.
If you guys if you're making or commenting on this, if you scroll down a little bit in the actual feed, it'll say give us permission to use your name. And I know some of you do that, and I think that it kind of reset a lot of the people because there's different people. It's like, hey, we used to. So if
just you want to remain anonymous because you're wanted by the law, then just stay as Facebook user.
Yes, just stay as a Facebook user. Right. Hopefully, you're not wanted by the law, but oh well.
It seems unlikely.
It does seem unlikely.
These are buy here, pay here dealers. These are nice folks, So yeah. So let's
especially if they're listening to White Hat Wednesday, then they are like, we're already on the right track.
There's my friend Dale Richards from Salt Lake City. Great to have you here, Dale. And some of our
Hi, Dale.
Some of our listeners on the podcast, Dale, met the other Utah Dale Richards not long ago. So he's our guy who's the business valuation expert.
Oh,
so
yeah. He was there for our
Dale
event in
S.
March.
Richards.
Yeah, Dale S. Richards.
Yeah, so good to hear from you, Dale Richards, and hope to see you again one day soon.
Yeah.
We today's White Hat Wednesday. I think we determined this would be about our 68th or 69th broadcast of White Hat Wednesday. So it's just about helping dealers think about what it looks like to be a white hat dealer. And, for those who might be hearing it for the first time, white hat is really just a kind of a tie back to a Western cowboy, sort of the quote unquote good guy or gal, in the marketplace in this case. So that's what
it's kind of exciting. We've been talking white hat stuff for a while, and we now have some people that we're working with that we're nailing out some agreement things with them, but we've been talking an awful lot with them about what White Hat Way means, because they're going to be really helping us with some branding things and messaging and all of that. And it's been really good to articulate again. And the more we articulate, the clearer and the clearer and the clearer and the clearer. And so, we've told people when we did the announcement earlier this month with Tim Lawrence and Tim Bird, about them stepping in as founding sponsors to help really move what it is that we're doing forward. We told you then that you're going to see things starting to happen that's just going to benefit everybody. And
Sure.
we're super, super excited about all of that. But so today, we're asked all the time, like, what is a white hat dealer? What does White Hat Way mean, and all of that? And so we wanted to kind of talk about today about how white hat buy here, pay here dealers and lease here, pay here dealers win more customers. And so what is it that differentiates? Because it is a philosophy. It's
There's a lot. Like there's a pretty wide, net that you could cast over all this. It's a pretty, broad thing. But I would say when we think about, what it looks like to be a buy here, pay here dealer who's a white hat dealer, that's about a long game, right? That's about thinking about tomorrow, thinking or starting your business or operating your business every day with the end in mind. And that has a lot to do with customer success. We have this unique thing in buy here, pay here where we have a long relationship with the customer. It's a long contract and we have an ongoing relationship. So all the things that we think about is not just how to help attract customers, but how to keep them actively engaged and happy in your portfolio, continuing to do business with you, referring friends and family, all those kinds of things.
And there's a lot of different ways of doing this business. And White Hat Way are for those dealers that really want to see their customers succeed, that aren't, and there are other business models where it's like we get people in a car and we anticipate each vehicle is probably going to have 3 different butts and seats, all of that. But this, what's kind of one of the first differentiators of White Hat Way dealers is that they really do have their customers' best interest at heart and want them to succeed. They want them to either trade up or pay off.
Yeah.
That's their goal. Trade up
and continue to do
or
business.
pay off. Because one of the things we talk about with White Hat Way, this long-term approach, and we talk about, and I every once in a while when we bring this up to dealers or others that understand that a typical contract in buy here, pay here is right now hovering around 4 years, right? And when we say white hat dealers, when they have someone that comes in, they're treating them like they're going to be a 10-year customer. Not that you're going to have a contract that goes 10 years, but that 10 years, that's like, we anticipate with how we develop this relationship that we're going to see at least 3 cycles of cars with this customer and then some. So it's a 10-year approach to your relationship with your customer.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of, all the things that we talked about this morning. I listed 4 just kind of large tips, kind of big picture tips. And so the first place would really be around pricing and business model, like, pricing being part of the business model and part of the business approach. Let's just think about how would we structure our business if we're thinking long term and we're thinking, success of the customer. Then there would be a number of things that we would incorporate in our business model and strategy that would be different potentially for a white hat dealer versus somebody who's not thinking that way. Well,
and when we have new clients that come in and they're just getting, because we work with a lot of brand new and help them get into business and get all of the pieces moving, that they'll go through it. So what should we price? And Jim, what's the first question you ask them?
Oh, so how do you want to be known in your community? Like when you're setting pricing, you have to think about really how do you want consumers to perceive you? And so and your team. I mean, your entire team, salespeople, they're affected by all these things as well. So so we just think, when you look at general business model, how do you, if you're thinking long term, and there will
how
be
would you be
around.
different than like what is a white hat type of pricing business model?
So a couple things come to mind quickly. One, I would be pricing with less gross profit, less markup per vehicle. Again, I'm thinking long term. I may have lower than, if I'm certainly going to be below the state cap. And listen, this is a whole separate episode. And we have some folks coming to the podcast in the future to talk about interest rate and why some dealers chose to charge less interest. So those would be examples. And so I probably would be advising our clients not to charge the state max, whatever the state allows. Yes, we need to have some markup. Yes, we need to have a good margin and a higher interest rate because of the risk that is our business. But we can position ourselves, and when we're thinking long term, and we think about having that customer finance with us and be in that car for 2 years and then trade into another car, then when we think that way, it's going to affect how we approach
or
pricing.
even if they're paying off, because one of the reasons why we have higher interest rates is because, you know, the typical cycle of a vehicle and a customer is that something happens and then they're out of the loop. And so, you know, for a lot of dealers out there, it's like, we just don't see coming to an end of a contract, which is why higher interest rates, all of those kind of things, because it's to mitigate risk. Well, let's say that you don't need that mitigating as much. I mean, you're still going to need it, but even if you move that needle by 12 deals a year, or 2 deals a month, that it's like, we're in this and we're going to see 2 more people a month that our goal is that they're going to pay this car off. They're going to trade up. And so there's not as much risk to mitigate.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I did not list among our tips, and it's again another one of those larger subjects that we've addressed in some fashion in prior episodes, but it's this thing about incorporating in this business model reward in addition to the punitive approach that is collections. So when we look at the entire business model, one of the things that I find across our industry, and it's not just true of our industry, but when we think about basic human behavior and basic human psychology, we know that it's common. We know that reward and punishment are among the things that go into affecting behavior. And what I find is that in our industry, we're pretty heavy on punitive, but we're not so good on the reward side of, rewarding good behavior, for customers who are doing what we ask them to do. We're not so good about rewarding that. And so I think this would be part of business approach for me. Yeah, it would be just
and so I added it as a bonus tip. If you have a reward program in your business or in your model, and that can be referral rewards, that could be, you make your payment on time so many times and you get entered into a drawing for, a $200 gas card or whatever. It's having something that is a reward. So
among the other things we talk about with clients, especially when they're new, is kind of this piece that I'll call a give back element. So let's suppose you are going to charge that high interest rate. You can create a program where you give back to your consumers, those who perform well and have solutions. So whether that's actual physical rewards in the way of gift cards and oil changes, or whether you're actually giving them something physical, or you have other methods of rewarding the customer. The idea is still to just earn that customer again and again, day after day. And even if it's as simple as, thank you, we see that this is your 3rd consecutive on-time payment, thank you. Like just some acknowledgement alone is going to go a long way in terms of people are paying attention. That we see that customers are working hard to get those payments into you. And so just a simple thank you for the
also,
effort.
we've talked about this in prior episodes that if you have some kind of reward for on-time payments over a certain period of time, that is such a great tool for your collectors. It's like, oh, we're 1 payment away from you being able to X. And so it's like a little bit of a carrot to hey, and for whatever it is that you're doing. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, of course.
So tip 2, team hiring and training.
So, this came to my mind not long ago because we were working with a company that I was able to say to them, I know a lot about you as founders, directors of this company because of the people that you choose to put on your team and how they represent you as a company. Okay. So let's think about how that extends to the typical buy here, pay here dealer that we meet. If we're trying to operate a white hat business and we're trying to be good neighbors in our community, then obviously the people that we choose to hire and how they represent us in dialogue across the organization, in dialogue with customers, dialogue with vendors, how do they represent us? And then training to support that. That's also part of how you would get there. But how do you incorporate a white hat element in your business across the organization? Like it's got to permeate the whole thing. And so how would we do that? Well, it's going to be largely team. They're the ones that are out there having those dialogues and having conversations, whether it's customers, other people in other departments in the business, whether it's the vendors that we interact with. Those folks are going to be the face and verbiage of our company.
Yeah. And, your team is so vital for just your business, period. And, we hear all the time about how do we hire people? We're having a problem, that one of the things that we've talked about this many times before is that a paycheck is important to people today. And it is becoming more and more important to our prospective teams that they also have a purpose. And you hear, if you get into YouTube or some of these other and inspirational, whatever, how do you inspire your team? Purpose is something that it's really important right now. And it's becoming more important, and it's not going to go away. I think it's just going to get bigger. And so the purpose side of it is, if you really are clear, you're a white hat dealer and you're clear about what it is that our core principles are. And that this, like, we really do, we're trying to help, and so that your team can go home feeling good about how they helped someone and changed the lives, and that you're celebrating that as a team. It's like, tell me about your things. What was your best story for the week? Whatever that is, that's really, really a beautiful thing to add with the teams. Another piece, we talked about rewards. Just picture in your mind, if you will, that you have like that gas card or whatever that's going out to someone this month because they made their payments for 6 months in a row, and that your collector that usually handles that account is the one that takes it or gives it to them. And so that they're able to, and because dealers, I know that we love the spotlight, but if we can start to put our team in the spotlight of, like, I'm giving back to the community, I'm helping people, that is such a beautiful thing as well. And it's just that purpose piece with hiring, training.
And as I hear you describe that, I can imagine some dealers will say, well, gosh, we don't even let our collectors use their real name when they're collecting. Like, I don't know if we want to do that. And I would say, let's ask ourselves, what does that represent? So we don't need to go into all that today, but I'm just saying that I hear that from some dealers.
That's part of transparency. It's like, this is who we are. And, we are part of our community. That kind of thing.
We're good neighbors. So we'd be happy to have our name and face on it.
Exactly.
So, now, after sale engagement and support.
This is tip number 3.
You could say that this is part of business strategy and model.
Support. Yeah.
But it's like part of how when I talk about keeping customers, like it's been said, we've heard Ken Shilson say for decades, this idea that, it's not about buy your payers, not so much about selling, it's about keeping the customer sold, keeping them on the road and keeping them performing, because we need them to be able to stay in the car and have success, because one, that we have to get to a place where we're profitable in the business arrangement with the customer first and foremost. And then we also are going to earn more repeat and referral business and all that kind of stuff longer the customer stays with us. So when we think about it in that way, we need to think about having solutions after the sale to, one, engage the customer and maintain a level of relationship. And I would say, we talk about it, and we'll talk more about this in future episodes, I'm sure, but it's this idea of making trust deposits with your customer. It's like we continue to make deposits and assure them and keep them engaged. And we continue to reassure them that we're here. We're still who we were the day you bought the car. We're still here to support you. And then you think about support. So part of that is actual dialogue and interaction. And then the other piece would be solutions, tools, ways to solve solve problems
Yeah.
when the customer does
Like
have a hiccup.
reinsurance is one option.
It's a
right
beautiful
there.
option.
Yeah. Those kind of tools. Having
Whatever it is. Yeah, it's like there can be a number of different ways that
Mhm.
you support the customer, but it needs to be communicated clearly so that when the customer does have a setback, they're not
Mhm.
just sitting at home shopping for their next car because they don't know what to do. They're thinking you're
Mhm.
not going to help them because of
That's
past experience
happens.
with other dealers.
Yeah.
So many
And
things.
so, there's a lot of things we've talked about in previous episodes about this that fall in this after sale engagement and support. One thing is, and we've seen it really be very successful in some of the dealerships that we've worked with, is having someone that's dedicated in your team as the customer advocate. And so their engagement and that's what their job is about engagement and they're the advocate. They're the ones that are like, so if you're doing videos after the sale to say, hey, just wanted to remind you about this, those 3-minute kind of TikToky videos. We're just want to remind you about this feature or this, this solution for support, and that we have this referral thing, and so over the course of a week or two after buying the vehicle, that customer advocate or whoever it is on your team, they're seeing a face, they're getting something that is like, hey, just wanted to remind you of the stuff. And then that customer advocate, customer support person is, that person can be responsible for getting a newsletter out once a month with like, these are the things that are happening, and this is who won the gas card this month, and this is who we did a coloring contest of something, and so this little kid here is getting a backpack with all the school supplies, or whatever it is that, so that they're the ones that are driving. It's really helpful to have someone on the team, because I know dealers are busy. Having someone on the team that you can work with, that is driving this customer engagement, this after sale engagement. When we talk to dealers and we go to conferences, is probably the number one thing that dealerships struggle with. And it's like because the age of ACH, where we no longer see our customers, and they're no longer coming in to bring, we see some of them,
no ongoing
but there's no ongoing relationship where you're having touch points with them frequently, and that they're able to.
And what do we know about long distance relationships on a personal
level? Don't work.
Yeah,
especially if you're having a long distance relationship and you just don't talk to them.
Yeah, there's no communication.
It's like, oh, well, I found a new friend here really quickly. Yeah. People like to feel engaged and connected, right? Okay. So this is relationship 101. We should start a new podcast.
Yeah. So that's a bonus tip. And I would say for those who haven't seen it, you could do a search in our playlist on YouTube for customer advocacy. Like we've done whole episodes around customer advocacy as an approach, because, just in the simplest way to think about it, if you had an entirely new hire, if you budgeted for one new hire, and that person could save you 10, 15 charge-offs a year, would they pay their own way?
Yeah. And in the dealerships, one of the dealerships that we helped get this going, is that customer advocate as well handles all of the scheduling. They do the repairs out. They have a reinsurance program, but they're the ones that it's like they're the contact. Sure. They're the ones that are out there just working with the customer. So it's off the collector's plate, all of that kind of stuff, and it's also off the salesperson's plate, because it's like that's the person that the customer has a relationship. So that's the person that they're probably going to call when they have a problem. Sure. So they're developing relationships. So
last topic one. Number 4. Yeah. So I purposefully spelled affective
instead of effective.
A. So we know what effective looks like. That would be successful and in well performing advertising, I suppose, marketing. I'm talking about affective quite purposefully here, because I'm thinking about all the intangibles.
I love that word.
Would be affective. How could we affect as a verb? How could we influence the customer in our marketing and the entire community? Anybody that sees the commercial, even or the ad or video that is not currently our customer, maybe they'll never be our customer, but they may refer somebody next week. They may have an employee who needs a car next week or whatever that looks like. I'm simply suggesting when we can get our marketing to invoke emotion and can build trust. And so this is not about used cars. This is about creating a marketing campaign that affects the people that come in contact with the campaign. And so ideally that would, again, permeate the entire marketing campaign approach. But it's like shifting from selling used cars with valve cover leaks and whatever else. I mean, they're imperfect used cars, and we're out there trying to outsell the competition. And here's an opportunity when we can move to marketing that is affective and builds trust. It conveys emotion. It starts to resonate with the customer who is going to be, and we talked a while back about sticky customers. I think some of these kind of things also can help to have sticky employees. Again, whole separate subject, this idea of people, they say folks today don't have any loyalty as employees. And I would say, I think there's a way to get there. And some of these kind of things we're talking about today would be ways to have purpose around what you do, create marketing that helps people understand the authentic version of you. Like when you're a white hat dealer and you're authentic and you are building trust in the community, then having affective marketing campaigns can make a big difference. And so it could be just one more way to have sticky customers, sticky employees, and start to sell yourself as a dealer across the community, your team. It's just like you as a company, sell your magic, across your community. And so is there magic? I bet there is. And you just have to learn how to tap into it and tell the story.
I really love this is that I've been seeing that other dealers and people that do marketing pieces are there is a shift happening where it is becoming less and less about the car and it's about the financing. It's like the first place to go is like, it's about the financing, guys. So how do we help people through the financing? And I'm seeing too, which I'm always perusing like the Facebook stuff and all of that. More and more dealers are like spotlighting their employees. Meet so-and-so. He likes to fish with his toes. Whatever it is.
I want to meet the dude.
I want to meet the person too.
Yeah.
But spotlighting their employees because it like this person, and that you're also, when you're doing affective marketing, you are creating a story as well. And so we start to get deep and we're telling stories. We might even be telling like, we've used Tommy as an example too. It's like this person came in and they really needed this for that. And telling the story, and not just congratulations. And well, that's fantastic. So I don't want to dismiss congratulations so-and-so with a picture and all of that, because that is like a way of connecting. But let's go the next step. And let's start to tell the story and like engage in those social media posts with the people. It's like, oh, I'm just like that too.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's like everybody needs a car and everyone's going to buy a car eventually. And so that's a low bar for connecting with potential customers, right? So when we start to tell a story in like, we just sold this thing, or this is, something that we're doing, and we're telling a story and people are like, oh, I get that. I'm like that. Or if they, if they're friends of the customer, then, other people are going to go click. We all know how like Facebook works, right? So when you have a customer that you've asked to follow your page or follow you, and then you put something out there and it's coming up on their feed and they like it, then all of a sudden it's going to start showing up a little bit for all of their friends and their ecosystem. And so when you can start doing things that your current customers are like, heck, I like that. That's cool. Like, you start to grow that in a pretty organic way. And there's, we've also, I love Anna Marie's out there's like boosting posts. Let's work on ads. And so using even those stories as your ads, and then putting some money and some analytics behind that too.
And I think one other point of reference here would be our recent presentation in Arizona. It's over on our playlist for BHPH Nation TV. And you can talk about, I think our title was 3 Simple Ways to Create More Sales. And the biggest part of that theme of that presentation was about building trust. And I think part of the way you build trust is, we talk about known, liked, and trusted. Well, you first kind of have to get to know people. And one example I came across recently, most of us, been to Starbucks, or if you even see your Starbucks in your local grocery store, then I noticed they had little pop-ups out front that have their usual featuring the pumpkin spice latte or whatever. But
sorry, everyone's ears perked. What?
Yeah, what? Okay. Is that time of year? So, but one of the things they were doing, and all their permanent stuff and in their chalkboard type of pieces, were introducing their team. Like the person on staff, this is,
are you watching
whatever.
That happen? It's not just we're not asking you to do something that other businesses are seeing as effective.
So if a company as big as Starbucks recognizes that, and they're starting to personalize the interaction and allow the people who are buying coffee to get to know the barista behind the counter, what's the purpose of that? Like, why does that matter? So I'm just saying Starbucks has figured out that can matter. And certainly to me as a consumer, it matters.
Yeah.
And so I would say when we learn as dealers in the buy here, pay here space to let's get authentic, let's allow people to get to know us. And especially if we're operating with white hat practices and we do have the success of the customer in mind in the end, then don't be afraid to tell that story.
Yeah.
And so if you need some help with it, reach out to us. I mean, we're helping dealers all the time, try to get that dialed in. And it's really just, like I say, it's about, for me, affective marketing would be about authenticity and trust very heavily, in those areas. We'd be leaning on that a lot. And so, and emotion, it's just about,
and emotions a lot of times is told through story,
right?
Not an announcement. People don't typically, unless it's tragic or something, it's like people experience emotion when you are you're engaging them and they're bringing them into a story. And it doesn't have to be something like a post that's, you got to click see more. It can be just, something really quick and telling a story so they can, it's like, oh, I'm like that.
Sure.
Oh, I've had that problem too. Couldn't get the kids to soccer practice. My car broke down on the highway and I was left stranded. Just whatever it is that got them there, tell that story. So let's review really quick the different things that we talked about. Tip 1 was your pricing and business model. Tip 2 was your team hiring and training. And that's where we came in with the bonus of some different rewards as well, that are part of that. And the rewards also weaves into after sale engagement and support, and then affective, not effective marketing is like elicit an emotion
as a verb.
A verb. It's like people want to engage with what it is that you're doing with your marketing. So that's what we got.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you back here Friday. I've got lots of fun ideas for topics for the upcoming weeks here. So stay tuned. We'll be bringing you guests and experts to add to the conversation. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Have a great Wednesday.
Have a great day, guys. Thanks so much. We will see you on Friday.